Namaste. This is Yoga Therapy Podcast, and I'm your host, Shira, yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and Ayurvedic wellness educator. In these conversations with experts in the field of yoga therapy, you'll find out what it is and how it can help you and your loved ones to reclaim well-being. We'll touch on physical as well as mental health, physiology, emotions, women's health, spiritual well-being, goddesses, and self-development in the fullest sense. Listening to another story can change ours, so thank you for showing up, and let's begin this journey together. Hello everyone, we're here today with Montserrat Mukherjee. Is that right? Yeah. She is a certified C-IAYT yoga therapist. She's the founder of the Yoga Therapy Institute. It's the first 850-hour European accreditation. And she integrates work with medical studies with yoga. So this is a really great school. I really wanted to go to this one, but I just couldn't at the time. And I read on your bio that you apply yoga therapy as a complementary for degenerative heart diseases, autoimmune conditions, what else? Musculoskeletal injuries, burnout, anxiety, depression, women's wellness issues, cancer and insomnia. So it's a huge list. But
a huge list.
Yes, and welcome, Montserrat. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shira. Thank you for having me here, actually. And I'm super happy to be here for sure. I've known you. I've met you quite many years ago. Actually.
Yes.
We connected, and now we're connecting again. So it's super nice to see you again. And as a matter of fact, yes, yoga therapy can be applied or can work as a complementary, and we can explain why complementary, to almost every aspect of the human condition. So that's why we cannot really have a list. The list would be
endless.
endless, exactly. So every aspect of the human condition, which includes, of course, physical ailments, but also emotional and sometimes issues of the mind, which of course they come together. So we cannot really say that you can only work with somebody physically. It's not possible anymore, because we know that we're working with the mind and the emotions and every aspect and dimension of the human being. So that's why we try to make a list. But
did you find that as time progresses that you end up focusing more, or certain people arrive to you more with certain conditions, more specific?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Well, I always say that one of the most common ones is lower back pain, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's very common, very, very. I mean, according to some statistics, 99% of people will at some point in their life experience some form of lower back pain, whether it stays or whether it doesn't stay, but we will all experience it at some point in our lives. And one that is really growing naturally is anxiety, panic disorder, and also autoimmune disease. This is something that is really, I was just talking to a colleague of mine yesterday, and I said, there seems to be like an epidemic.
It is.
Autoimmune disease. Yeah. And it's particularly prevalent in women.
Yes. Oh, we can discuss that in a minute. I have a lot to say about that. But first let's kind of stick to the program.
I'm happy.
Okay, so my first question usually is asking people, so how did your yoga story start, and how did it become yoga therapy? I know it's a long story.
It was a little bit of a long time ago, so I have to go back in time. So yes, I was working in London, and I worked in the corporate world. And well, if you want to know a little bit of the story is actually, I was at a party in London. A Stella McCartney fashion show had just taken place, and I was a little bit in that scene in London. And I wasn't feeling well, and I was probably in my early 20s, and I wasn't feeling well, and I felt pretty unwell. And then a friend of mine said to me, well, the problem with you is that your chi is low. And I just looked at her thinking,
what?
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was something to do with my vodka martini. It wasn't. Do I need any more of this? No. So I was quite concerned about myself because I was in my early 20s. Even though I was doing a lot of sports, I was actually playing water polo. But I was burning the candle at both ends. So partying a lot, working really hard, traveling around the world. And then the morning after, I booked myself for a yoga class at the Life Centre in Notting Hill in London.
Oh, wow.
And I went to this class, and I'll never forget, it was packed with people. And there was this woman teacher, female teacher. And she told me off about a couple of things that I wasn't doing right. Like really told me off, like said, like she got angry with me because I wasn't doing something right. And I thought, this is the first time I'm doing this. And Shira, you will not believe it, but I remember going into a seated forward bend. And as I went inside, I thought, I could teach this better.
I love that thought. I had that about my grade 2 teacher. I was like, she's terrible.
Exactly. I was just like, I could teach this better. And that was just one seed planted. I didn't go off to teach yoga straight away. But of course, I started to do yoga, and I bought this huge book from the 80s. And I was doing yoga in my bathroom, while my husband at the time, he was saying, what are you doing upstairs? And I was like, just trying to balance on one leg, leave me alone. And so that's how yoga took hold of me. And then I became pregnant, and then I did pregnancy yoga training in London as well.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, I moved to the Netherlands. In fact, I gave birth in the Netherlands. And I left my corporate career behind, and I was really into yoga. And really what happened to me was that I got hurt. I got hurt with yoga. That is what happened.
Through yoga?
I was doing too much. Yes, I got into Kundalini yoga. I got trained as a Kundalini yoga teacher. I also did Hatha yoga. And I was doing too much, too fast, too strong. And I really, really hurt myself to the point that I had to take some time off. And I went on holidays with my mom in Spain, saying I was really feeling unwell. All my muscles reacted against me. And when I went back to the Netherlands after a 3-month break, I found on the internet, which, Shira, at the time, the internet was
dinosaur.
like novelty. It was like a dinosaur. And I found this yoga therapy course in London by the Yoga Biomedical Trust, which doesn't exist anymore. And it was a pioneer course run by Dr. Robin Monroe. And I thought, this is what I want. So I started to commute from Amsterdam to London, going back and forth with a baby, or sometimes my husband would take care of the baby, I would go. And it was a very medical course. It was, as a matter of fact, you had to do some medical studies for a year for it.
Great.
And it was just amazing training. And then that was it. Then from that moment, there was no more yoga classes. It was just yoga therapy all the way. Also because that experience that I had hurting myself in a yoga class, and as a matter of fact, in a way, I was pushed by a teacher who I was doing in a younger class at the time, and I did a hip opener, and the teacher pushed me, and at the time it felt good because I thought, oh, look how far I can go. But what
ego good,
absolutely ego good. And I had just given birth, which means that I still had those lovely hormones, progesterone and relaxin in my body, which means that all my joints were open. And I literally tore my sacrum apart. But I didn't realize straight after the class, it was just an hour later, and that's when I couldn't move. And then my whole body reacted. Well, all my muscles really tight, all my joints started to hurt. And I started to observe how other people were getting hurt in the yoga classes, when I thought, this is not right. What's wrong with this person? This person should not be in this class, and this person should not be pushed this way. So I became quite critical. And without even knowing at the time that yoga therapy existed.
This was before the yoga therapy.
Quite right. This is not quite right. And then I got hurt and I went to recovery. And then when I came back and on the internet, I found this course. I thought, this is it. This is the way. I thought, this is for me, but I also thought, this is the way forward.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, great.
So that was how I started in yoga therapy. I never that really.
Okay. So, and how old were you when you started doing that course? Was not long after.
Yes, it was exactly 20 years ago. So,
okay.
No, actually, I'm really sorry. Oh my God, I'm
That's
older
okay.
than
Don't worry.
I was like, 20 years ago. I keep on saying that all the time. No, actually, I was older than that. So let's see, my daughter was 3 years old. Yeah, actually around 20 years old.
Oh, you were 20 years
20,
old?
No,
20
like
years.
20 years ago.
Okay.
So I was 46, 30.
About 30 something.
Yeah, about 30, 34, something like that.
Okay.
34 years old. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
wow.
yes.
Okay, so you had a long gap between the yoga and the yoga therapy. 10 years.
Not such a long, practicing, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Practicing, definitely.
Okay.
That was
it
just
takes
like,
a while
you know,
because already just the physical practice feels so good. And sometimes that's enough. Yeah, it's enough to bring you into a kind of state of mindfulness, just to do the
postures. And to get to know your body, get to know yourself, get to know the yoga world, just you know. And and also, like I said, I was doing very high sports when I was in London. I was playing water polo. When I got pregnant, I had to stop playing water polo, obviously. And then yoga was a really nice transition into something more gentle. What I thought would be, it was definitely more gentle than water polo. I think that if I had continued playing water polo, I would have got really, really hurt.
Really?
But
are you not safe in the water? I just can't imagine it being...
No. Water polo is really aggressive. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's really aggressive. I used to play with broken toes. Yeah, it's extremely aggressive.
Okay.
Extremely aggressive.
But you're extremely ambitious.
Yes, you don't last playing water polo for many years. No, you don't. Swimming, yes, but not playing water polo. So yes, it seemed like a good transition. As a matter of fact, it did a lot of good to me, for my body and my mind. At the time, there was a lot of stress in my life because of the corporate world, traveling, etc., having a new baby. But like everything that we do as human beings, we can never have something and treasure it
for a long time.
Respect.
No.
We would never. There's something about us human beings that we cannot just get hold of something and respect it. We have to take it to the extreme. So it's like everything that's happening these days, you know, with intermittent fasting, with yoga itself, you know, like those before Corona time, the yoga classes had 50, 60, 70. You saw them in the US. They were like massified classes. Everybody goes to each other. So a little bit like, I think is human tendency for us to when we find something that is precious, in some way to abuse it in a way, or just to use it to the point where we might even destroy it, a little bit like we've done.
Yes, I was just going to say.
Yes, a little bit like we've done with the earth. Yes, and that's what we do. And it's very important to become aware of that. That is what we tend to
Our tendency,
and,
yes.
Yeah, our tendency. And that applies also to yoga.
No, you're right. I think we just want to see what the limits are, but you see it in your child too. A child is always testing what are the limits? How far can I take this person?
Absolutely. How far can I push the button? Absolutely. And we do that definitely. And
I think it's a nature thing, but we're conscious beings, so we have to do something about the earth.
We're conscious beings, so absolutely. Yeah. So we can do something about it precisely because we're conscious beings. And as a matter of fact, yoga did need to evolve with time. In the same way as we couldn't do the same yoga that was done thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, it's not possible. The same way we don't practice the same medicine, thank God, because we are the same, you know. So
well, it depends. If it was Ayurveda.
Yes, if you're talking about Ayurveda, but
natural.
Some of the herbs of Ayurveda nowadays might not be, and some of the practices might not be applicable to today's. A lot of my students, they say, I can't find the ingredients in Ohio where I live. Okay. So exactly.
Yeah, and I think also we've evolved to create these diseases that have gone beyond what Ayurveda can sort of touch on, because it's
totally
Yeah.
Totally.
It's too complex.
I mean, in fact, a very good friend of mine is an Ayurvedic doctor, and she's on burnout. I mean, she's burnt out completely because they didn't count on sitting in front of the computer all day. You know, it's an accumulation of a dosha, but regardless of that, if you have to do it for your living, for your work, then it is. We live in a world where everything has to be adapted, and yoga had to follow an evolution. And it followed an evolution for sure, and then it went to the US, and then it became out of control. And again, it needs to
evolve
and evolve with absolutely. So
I think we're doing quite well with that, in a sense. I believe.
I hope so. And I know that it sounds really strange, but I think that the COVID times have helped. That.
I agree. It's helped with many things. I think it's making us wake up to the world situation, to our global health situation.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, and it brought our attention to
all the problems.
All the problems, absolutely. And that massive commercialization of yoga was not a good thing. And we're coming back now to the therapeutic aspects of yoga
and smaller groups.
How it can help also smaller groups, maybe one-on-one even, how it can help with mental health, which is a big issue. Because I have to tell you, a lot of people say, oh, corona and COVID, but a lot of times I say, I think we're here because of the mess we were in before.
Yeah, well, I agree 100%. I've been shouting this for since COVID began. We have to look at our health. What have we done physiologically and hormonally? For me, that's what the book is about too. It's just hormones. Try and understand your hormones. And when you regulate those, everything else can be regulated too. And then we won't be susceptible or as susceptible. We will have a strong immunity. We will have a sense of self that is solid enough to resist.
Yeah. Yes, and you can take that also even to a bigger scale. I said the whole world is like a big hormone system. The whole world is like a hormone system, and it's out of whack.
I love that.
That's the reason why we're here. Yes. And the way that people say, "Oh, we want to go back to normal," or we want to go back to the way it was. I'm like, we can't, because if we go back to the way it was, then we're going to be again in that mess, and maybe a worse mess. So
I feel like we're lemmings right now. We're all just jumping off a cliff together. Yeah. We've got to find a way to turn the ship around.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And I do think that when it comes to yoga, there's many tools of help. Of course, yoga is only one small aspect of it. Because some people say, oh, yoga is the answer to everything. Is no. There's many answers. It's not only yoga. I mean, being with friends, connecting, and right now I'm in my hometown in Spain, looking out at the sea is also another way of regulating. So yes, but it's necessary for it, and it's following that evolution. And like you said, hopefully that's the way it's happening. Yeah.
Eventually something's going to work out. I don't know if it's for our benefit as a human race, but
let's hope.
Let's hope so. Let's see. So what I wanted to ask you, what are you so passionate about in the yoga therapy? What really makes you excited?
Oh God, so much. So many things. What gets me really excited is, I know that it's going to sound strange, but what gets me really excited is the results. That is what gets me really excited. Now we have, like you say, hundreds of students at the school, and they're coming up with their case studies. They have to do, for the 850 hour, they have to do 21 case studies, but also for the other courses, they also have to do case studies. Wow. And they come back after all the training, and they're working with people with, you have no idea, people with arthritis, even aneurysms, heart aneurysms, all kinds of really complicated and complex medical cases. And of course, the work of a yoga therapist is complementary to conventional medicine. Okay, so it's not, yoga therapy doesn't replace conventional medicine, but it works as a complement. And they come back and they say, Mons, I can't believe it. This person is now smiling. This person can now walk without fear. This person can now cook. This person is now can sleep. Or they don't get a panic attack when they go and have the chemotherapy treatment. And this is what really gets me really excited, because when I started working with it, of course, I saw the results, but at a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And then when I was working one-on-one with my clients, I could see the results, but I don't like to blow my own whistle and say, "Hey, I'm so fabulous. Oh my God, this is so amazing."
Well, you can.
You know, I kept it really kind of like to myself, as a matter of fact, to say, wow, you know, I don't want to say to anybody, but this really is effective way of working. It doesn't cure anything. It doesn't cure, but it's a really effective, respectful way of improving health and maintaining health and managing chronic issues. So I could see this personally in my own clients. And what has really made me really passionate is now that all these hundreds of students are coming back saying, this is working. This is working for, and if it doesn't work, we find another way.
Yeah.
So this is the beauty of yoga therapy. It's completely adapted. So if I have a student comes back and says, you know, this client, you know, I don't know, this was perhaps not the best route to do. Maybe these exercises were too heavy. And then we discuss it and we said, okay, yeah, less is more. This is one of the motives of yoga therapy. Less is more. Let's see how you can adapt to this person. What are their fears? Have you spoken to their doctor? And then we work out another way, another path.
Yeah.
And then you work with that person for a long time. And the results are just really amazing. And some of them life transformative. I've had people coming back to me saying, I will never forget those breathing practices that supported me through surgery. I will never forget how, thanks to you, I went to see a psychotherapist or a coach or whatever referral I had made, and now I'm moving on with my life. And the changes they made from diet to sleep, etc. Wow. So that is what gets me really passionate, especially when it comes from the students. So they go, "It's working. This person," and I go, "Yes!" I just get so happy. And that because ultimately, Shira, the ultimate receiver or purpose or goal of yoga therapy, if there is one, is those people who we are helping and supporting.
Of course.
You see, when you're doing a yoga therapy training, you think, "Oh, I want to be a yoga therapist. I want to do the best training." Wait a minute, just remember
what it's about.
The goal and the object of that is human beings.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So the yoga is not the purpose. The purpose is the person. And we always say, and I like to say in yoga therapy, we don't adapt the person to the asana, but the asana to the person.
Yeah. Yes.
The asana to the person.
Yes.
Yes. Asana has to be adapted to the person.
Everything, the whole practice, everything has to be, whether it's the breathing
adapted
or
to the person, because you can say to me, I love Nadi Shavasana, I love alternate nostril breathing. And I can say, well, I don't, because it makes me claustrophobic to only work with one nostril, or maybe I have nose polyps and it makes me panic right?
Yeah.
And then so when we say this practice is universally good for somebody, that's really blind to the human condition. That is really excluding. It's exclusive. And we're not into exclusivity anymore. We're into inclusivity.
Yes, well, that's the beautiful thing about yoga. It's always inclusive.
It should be.
It should be.
But it hasn't always been. It hasn't always.
No, of course not. It depends who's using it. And
yes, but women used to be excluded from it. Don't forget. Women were excluded from the practice. A long time ago in India.
But have you read Uma Dinsmore's book, Yoni Shakti? Yes, so I like her vision that it could have been long before written tradition, that it was actually women doing it. I think that's such a wonderful, and I think it's probably true. I can imagine it's more true, and men are just jealous, and then they made it about alignment.
Absolutely. Well, actually, some of the physical practices were developed for the young Indian soldiers to fight against British colonialism. So that's why we have a lot of warriors and a lot of
Ashtanga.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why it was developed. So there's a very strong masculine component in it, but perhaps the non-physical component had something. It has more like a feminine energy.
Yeah.
For sure. I know. I love Uma's book. It's a great.
Yeah, it's great.
She's a really lovely one. We were together at the Yoga Biomedical Trust.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I did the training, the Yoga Nidra in Amsterdam.
Yoga Nidra.
That was so great.
Lovely.
Yeah. And there was something you just said, which I think is an important point to just bring up again, is that you said that if something doesn't work in yoga therapy, then we try another way. And I think this is important for all people to remember and realize, because I've had so many clients come and they've been to 1 or 2 or 3 different physiotherapists or doctors or internists and been told, sorry, we can't help you anymore.
Yes,
and they don't try another road. If one thing doesn't work, then try something else. Even for me, for my shoulder, I've been to 3 different physiotherapists, and each one gave me a little bit, but it wasn't enough. So always trying different things and never giving up is so important.
Never giving up. Absolutely. I agree with you completely. And you're totally right. That's the whole point. And I always say this, and I say the students laugh, and then they come back and they say, "Mom, you were right. This is true." And I said, yoga therapy sometimes is the path of the desperados, I call them.
Yes.
Which is like people who have been to so many treatments, whether it's conventional or traditional, or whether it's alternative. They've tried so many ways, and then they come to yoga therapy.
Yes.
And
it's the end of the line.
Is the end of the line, exactly. And what it gets me really excited about yoga therapy as well is that, and I've never come across another discipline that really works in such a complete way with everything that the human being and the person brings with them. Because we have a lot of practices that they focus on nutrition, they focus on the physical, musculoskeletal, they focus on the mental aspect, emotional, but actually in yoga therapy is everything, all of it. And some people say, and I would go as far as to say, because a lot of people say, well, it's the Panchamaya koshas, which of course is the physical body, energetic body, the wisdom, the mind body, and also the spiritual body. But there's even more, because in yoga therapy, we also focus on the environment of the person. How are you sleeping? Where do you live? What's going on in your relationships?
How is your work?
Yamas and niyamas. Absolutely. How is your work? And so the elements of the 8 limbs of yoga, of the yamas and niyamas, of relationships with ourselves. How do you feel about yourself? And how do you feel about others? And what is your attitude with other people? What is your attitude about money? Like everything that a human being brings, and is so complete that I yet to find a discipline that covers all those areas. And sometimes I think to myself, I wish doctors would ask more questions.
Yes.
Because that's what a yoga therapist does. A yoga therapist is always asking questions.
Lots of questions.
And sometimes with a question is the aha moment that you go,
Yeah. Or you see several things linking up and you're going, oh, that's the point. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I love it that you say that, Shira, because I always say A doesn't equal B. So for example, if people, you say, for example, you have digestive problems and you say, well, I eat a lot of spicy food. Well, okay, that could be one of the reasons why, but in general, you eat spicy food.
You love to be in the sun.
You love to be in the sun. You're all stressed out. You
love to do lots of sport.
You're
an A-type.
Very tight clothes. Exactly. So there's so many things. And it's so much of fact, when I see disease meaning like coming out of ease. Like we're out of ease. There's ease. I find that there's always a physical element, maybe something genetic. It's also possible, something that you've inherited. There's no doubt about it. You could inherit a hiatus hernia or something like that. There's an element that is environmental. There's an element that is the mind. There's an element that is the emotions, the thoughts, the emotions. There's kind of like little elements from all the areas that makes us. And bingo, then we get sick or something happens. So yeah, absolutely.
It's again, like you said, combinative. Yeah.
Totally. You cannot say, oh, unless of course you have an accident. You know, if a flower pot falls on your head, then we know you've got a headache. You know, that is for sure. Then you're going to get concussion. But except for some accidents, then you know, of course.
Yeah. And one thing I love about Ayurveda is that the first thing I read from, do you know Vasant Lad?
Yes.
So I think the book on herbs, in the first sentence he says in the first chapter, it's life is one big relationship. And that is what it is. And so, like you said, you have a relationship not just with your work, but with your family, with your environment, with your sleep, with your food, with everything.
With yourself, with everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, relationship with everything. Totally. So yes, and that's also another aspect that makes me very passionate about your therapy.
Yes, so, me too. I can't stop talking about it. So tell me, I mean, we've just discussed it's not just one thing, but what do you see? So I see one thing, I think, and I'm just trying to understand if other people see it that way too, is what do you think or see as the often overlooked link between health and disease?
What is the often overlooked link
between
health and disease? Actually, yes. Lately, what I find is the most overlooked element is actually the connection between human beings.
Yes.
So let me be a little bit more specific. I always say that all the green juices in the world cannot replace
human
touch,
connection,
love, laughter, human connection, like
deep intimacy or
intimacy. Really, and I've seen it now more and more. And I think that one of the reasons why we're all going on this healing self-search for the right diet and eating lots of vegetables and fruits and
goji berries,
goji berries, intermittent fasting,
ketogenic diets,
ketone, certain amount of exercise, yoga also itself, and there's so many
jumping in the cold water.
Jumping into the cold water. It's because we're not happy. It's because
we've lost connection.
And we've lost connection. I'm going to tell you a very, very quick story. So before I was traveling to Spain, I hurt myself. It wasn't with yoga.
Luckily.
It was going to the gym. I went to the gym and I did a little bit too much. And I just hurt myself. You know, I'm of a certain age where I thought, Mom, you cannot really do this. But anyway, I hurt myself. And I was like, and I said to my partner, I said, oh God, I'm going to be traveling with this pain. It's a groin injury kind of. And I said, I'm going to be carrying the suitcase. And, you know, I was traveling on my own. And I said, well, okay, but, you know, I'll cope with it. So then I traveled and I arrived to my place where I was supposed to come, which is the place where I grew up by the sea. And it happened to be my birthday that day. Oh. And I arrived. I love traveling on my birthday, so don't be sorry for me. It's what I like.
No, I'm not feeling sorry.
I arrived here and then I was just discussing with somebody. And then I heard, it was 9:00 at night, and I heard this screaming outside, and I thought, what is that sound? And I heard my name being called, and then I went outside, and they were all my childhood friends that they knew I was coming because I told them, singing happy birthday to me.
Oh, how beautiful.
And they had organized a kind of like a mini party downstairs in a very grotty place, grotty down in the Garcia. You know, my pain went away.
Wow.
I haven't had my pain.
Oh my God.
I haven't had my pain. The morning after a couple of glasses of cava and some, you know, kind of like big cake, chocolate cake, everything that the books say, don't eat because otherwise you'll get sick.
Get sick.
But because it was through the human connection, the warmth and the love, I felt so loved, I can't tell you, that they had all made time on a Wednesday evening to sing outside and to greet me. And we all went to this really dodgy place. And, my hip pain went away. It's like, I said, my partner called me and said, how's your hip? And I went, it's
what hip?
So, and like that, I see it a lot, and I see the doctors, but not only the doctors, but also especially the alternative therapists, that they miss that in someone's life. Do you have any friends? How are your friends? So many times when a client comes to me and they have all these issues, but they do all these things, and I say, okay, who's your best friend? Do you have a best friend? Can you share this pain with somebody?
Yeah.
Do you have somebody who you can share this physical or emotional pain that you have at the moment? And I have to tell you that the ones that recover the quickest and the ones that are able to manage that disease the best support is actually the ones that have this social and personal connection, which is overlooked, I find. And of course, I'm Spanish, Shira.
Yes, it's very important for you. Yes, but it's important for everyone.
I think it is very important.
Yes, it's one of my first questions also on the intake. What is your support group, social support network?
Exactly.
Do
you have somebody who you tell your story to?
Yeah.
And this is and you can laugh about it.
Yeah.
Yes. You can laugh, like say, oh my God, my hip, I'm like an old woman now, I can't walk. And then we laugh. And then, I have a friend, sometimes we share injury stories and we laugh and we're in pain. Don't make me
Two old ladies.
Yeah, exactly. And then you laugh. And I see it in my mother and a lot of my elders who they all supervise, and they get together and play cards. They go to the theater together. And I think that's what keeps people alive.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
They've done a study on it. What is it called? The blue dot places? The blue zones.
Yeah,
it's where people eat together and see each other and outside a lot and have good social connections, small communities. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
live longer.
So important.
Yeah.
And just laugh together, and and maybe
not take yourself so serious.
Don't take yourself so seriously. I think that would be my advice number one. Don't take yourself so seriously. Laugh about it, and yes, it is. And of course, some subjects are very serious, but there's also an aspect in it of lightness and like I said, human condition that we overlook.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. The effect of laughter and human connection.
I love that really story. Yeah.
Yes. No, but really, I forgot. And I said, it was the cover. It was the champagne. I mean, it's bubbly, sparkling wine for €2. But hey, it's like, it's gone. So yeah, it is absolutely very, very important. And unfortunately, these times, the corona times, and I think that's why everybody really, as soon as they open the doors, everybody went crazy.
People are dying to see each other.
Yeah.
In Dutch, they have this huidhonger, skin hunger. And it's true. Yeah, I really absolutely wanted to hug and touch people as much as possible.
And touch. But on the other hand, you felt guilty if you touched.
No, I
didn't. I never felt that. Like, well, I've had it asked many times. Like, can I hug you? So I bump into people in the street and they go, "Can I hug you?" And I say, "Yeah, hold your breath."
It's going to be a long one.
I said, "Hold your breath. How many minutes can you hold your breath?" I'm going to hug as long as you can hold your breath. Yeah. So that's it. And it is really important. That's why there's been this backlash, which of course, it's natural. There's a part of the society that's trying to keep us safe. And there's another part of the society saying, yes, I want to be safe, but I want to touch and I want to hold.
Yeah, but I think, and I educate people in this too. to be safe is also to hug and hold and be together, because that is regulating our nervous system and
regulating our nervous system, exactly.
Creating homeostasis.
So, that's right. And it always depends. I mean, I have my 83-year-old mother, and I'm extremely careful, obviously.
Yes.
And she's with me actually here. And, and I made sure that I'm safe when I'm with her.
Of
only
course.
Because yes, I want to keep that respect for her. And but it depends also, who you're with. Yes, absolutely. But it's important. So yes.
Oh, but I think that's a lovely way to connect disease and health.
Yes, I think so. I think it's an aspect that we must remember.
Yeah,
that is part of it's a very important element. Important element.
Yeah, I read on your website or somewhere, I can't remember. Oh no, on LinkedIn, yoga becomes therapeutic only when we address the link between body, breath, and emotions. So this is, again, the emotions is so important. You feel good when you're with people you love, and that lightheartedness.
Absolutely. And we mustn't forget about that. And I always say, I've seen many people who are, I mean, I'm plant-based myself, but I've seen many people plant-based, drinking all the best smoothies in the world, fantastic yogis, and not very nice people.
Yes, and not very healthy mentally.
And exactly. Oh yeah, lots of them that are not very healthy mentally at all. Absolutely. So, and angry. I've witnessed fights in yoga studio. That's my studio. No, that's not. And that's my. Don't touch my yoga mats. And like, okay.
You still need to do a lot of yoga.
Yes. So exactly. So that doesn't make you healthy. Not necessarily.
No. Do you want to share about your new beautiful institute? So Montserrat has started her institute in 2017? Yes.
That's right.
And before that, she had a thriving private practice. Yeah. Yes. And I was wondering, how is your private practice now? Do you still have time for that?
I still have some of it, but of course I only keep it to very limited cases, very, very special cases. So right now, for example, I'm working with a woman, 56 years old, with lung cancer, recovering from lung cancer. Well, she still has it, but she is recovering and she's doing very well. And so very, very specific cases. Like, something that I interview them, or I do an interview and I say, okay, I'll take you on because I want to work with this. So, and I want to help you and I want to support you. But obviously I cannot
take everyone.
All the clients. Impossible.
Yeah.
And, the school, it started in 2017, which is crazy of me to start doing something like that when you're a 50-year-old woman. I mean, what was I thinking of?
You under your mango tree.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's also a funny story, because my company is called the Mango Tree Beve, although the school is called the Yoga Therapy Institute. But my company is called the Mango Tree because supposedly we were supposed to retire under a mango tree, but like we said earlier, we were saying the mango tree is getting further and further. 50 years old, you should maybe on your way consider, in 10 years I'll retire. It doesn't look like that at all. But I was having, like you said, a fairly thriving private yoga therapy business. And I worked between about 6 to 7 people a day, and literally 7 days a week. I was full on working, definitely not doing my self-care thing, but I really loved it. I am a single mom, so you have to work extra hard. And one day a yoga teacher approached me. I never met her before, and she said to me, Montserrat, I heard about your work, and said through somebody I've been working with, and she said, I would like to come and observe your work. If you don't mind, I want to learn from your work. And she's a lovely teacher. And I said to her, yeah, sure. But of course, I have to ask permission to my clients, because these are very private sessions where a lot of private information comes out. And so a few clients said yes. And they said, well, yeah, no problem. I said, it's for training purposes. Somebody wants to see what this is about. And she was observing. And then one day we went for a walk. I'll never forget, it was in the autumn. The ground was covered in leaves and brown leaves. And she said to me, Montserrat, I think you should share this with other yoga teachers. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, just like share it with other yoga teachers, show them how, about the safety, the red flags, about how you're working, how different it is to a normal or regular yoga session. And then started with a conversation. And I can't even tell you how, but I just said, okay. And then one day I got together a whole bunch of friends and I invited them for dinner. And some of them are yoga teachers, some of them are not. And I said to them, come on, brainstorming. I want to do this. What are we going to call it? What am I going to call it? And then with the input from different people, we decided on the Yoga Therapy Institute, went to register it. And then from then on, yes, it kind of like went ahead. So I also had a good client of mine many years ago who said to me, you need to share this with people. But at the time, I was not ready.
Yeah.
So it was through these personal connections that they said. And also I have another really lovely story to tell you about this, which is, of course, I didn't have a penny to my name. So I was, working really hard, but of course I've got to maintain my daughter, maintain myself. So it was great, but I didn't have the cash to start a company at this level. So I remember thinking, I need to go to the US to meet the C-IAYT, for the International Association of Yoga Therapists, accreditation, because I wanted to build a program that would be accredited by the C-IAYT. And I thought to myself, but I don't have the money to go to the US. I just really didn't have it. So one day I was just teaching a session with one of my clients and a lovely gentleman, and I was helping him with heart disease. And then I said to him, I started this company, I'm really excited. I need to go to the US. And he looked at me and he said, how much do you need? And I said, but how do you know I need money? Well, he said, just tell me how much you need to start this. So it wasn't a large amount of money. It was 3,000 euros just to get the ticket.
Yeah, but still.
And I said, he said, I'll come back tomorrow with the money. I was just like, wow. I was just like in awe, because I had helped him and his wife for many years, especially him with heart disease. And I was so touched. And I thought, okay, well, yes. And this is how I was able to do it. Then I went to the US.
Amazing. I remember when you were doing the paperwork.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I was doing the paperwork. Oh my God. And he actually also helped us with the paperwork. And he just said, I believe in this. You do a tremendous job. And he is to this day a wonderful friend,
Yeah. Yes, so great.
So that was really, really good. So, and that's another thing, Shira. I always like to say, speak to people. Speak to people around you, because you never know where help is going to come from. And I'm not saying like, give me help or help me. No. This is what I'm doing.
Just tell your story. Yes.
Yes. Just tell your story. Share your story. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm doing. And then you never know who might be able to be there for you.
I think a lot of women have issues with telling that kind of story, because we or maybe just people in general, because we're trying to show the world we have it all together.
Absolutely.
When we don't.
I couldn't agree more.
And when we need to do it together, because alone it's like pushing a rock up a hill.
No, you can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. And people are also suspicious. If somebody asks, they go, it's like, so many times I offer help and people go, what do you want in exchange? I don't know, I'm just helping. Like this client. I said, but sure, just
you don't want something?
I believe in this. I want to help you. Nice. So sooner or later, whether you want it or not, it comes by, it's a little bit like karma work. If you want to, you do something and one day you don't expect it and you say, oh my God, I helped this person 20 years ago and now this person is helping me. Yeah. So yes, to talk and to but I have to tell you, Shira, that my daughter always says, why do you always talk to everybody?
I do the same. My daughter hates it. She's like, come on, Mum, stop talking.
Stop talking.
Yeah, but it's through stories that you connect.
Yes, absolutely. It's a good thing to connect. Definitely. You never know.
I'll tell you one story about
Yes.
Me and my friend, we were in America and we bought a car. And it was the last bit of our money. We had 2 more weeks in USA. And we went to drive. We wanted to drive this car, and the money we had left was for diesel and food. And then after 6 hours, the car broke down. And and that was like, and we'd stopped in this big supermarket 24/7 American style. And I just told the story again and again and again. And after 2 days, my friend was sick of it. And she's like, just stop telling the story. But then the man came to tow our car away and he was going to crush it. And I told him the story. She's like, why are you telling it again? And I was like, well, you never know. And then he said, oh, I think I know what you need to do. And so he towed it to the compressing place for the cars. But he said, let's get a copper cable. And we put one onto the battery and one to the chassis. And then we had to start the thing again. And it started. We saved our car because I told the story.
Because you were telling the story all the time. Absolutely. Well, the concept of storytelling is very much part of yoga therapy. And I always say to the students, listen to the story. Sorry, there was a thing going on here. It's very important that we listen to other people's stories. That's how we're going to get to know our clients, by listening to their story. This is so important. Yoga therapy begins with a smile and listening. That's where yoga therapy begins. You smile at somebody and you are open to their story. And it's incredible. That's one of the things I like the most about yoga therapy. Also, it's about listening to these tremendous stories about human survival.
Yeah.
I don't know, Shira, I don't know how you feel, but sometimes I think, wow, people really survive through the most incredible events.
Yes.
Really, that I go, really is unbelievable. It makes me feel very lucky also myself. I'm thinking, wow, I'm so lucky about my own story, and I'm also lucky to be part of this story that they're telling me and we're sharing. And absolutely, because some people I go, wow, it's unbelievable. All kinds of stories. And that's part of it. That's part of it. Storytelling. If you come to the Yoga Therapy Foundation, one of the things that I mentioned there is about storytelling. How important it is for yoga therapists to listen to the stories.
Yes. I think we've talked about this once with another person, and they said the first thing they asked, oh, they were your student. It was Anka.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, yes, the first thing she asks is, what is your story? And I was like, that's a great way to say it, because it's the thing I ask too, but not so specifically. But I do it on the podcast. But yes, what is your story?
Yeah, what is your story? What is your story?
Great.
Absolutely. And then realizing that all our stories are connected in some way or another.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So Anka, she's one of us. She's graduated. She's now, and she's a full yoga therapist. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, she was very enthusiastic about your work. Okay, is there anything else you want to share? Anything else you'd like to say, or when we're talking to general public, any queries might have?
Yes, absolutely. Regarding yoga therapy, of course, I think it is very important, and I know that we go back to a subject that has had a lot of publicity lately regarding the idea of the gurus. Yes, and guru means teacher, which is not a bad word in itself, but of course, one of the things that I've come across a lot in yoga and in yoga therapy has been the following of, I remember there was a teacher, she's a yoga therapist, and arrived in the classroom, and the first thing that she did on a whiteboard was to list her gurus. And they were all male, of course.
Yes, this is what pisses me off. It's like, why are they all male? It's nearly all female practitioners with female bodies and hormones. Yes,
exactly. And the idea of I follow the guru, and that's something that, of course, it can become very appealing nowadays because we're lost and we've lost our compass, or the compass is not working, and we think, okay, I can follow somebody who who will guide
Will
me.
show me the way, yeah.
Who will show me the way. However, power dynamics is something that has been coming out as a subject that is very hot lately, about this power dynamics of the teacher and the student. And in yoga therapy, we can fall into that danger again of those power dynamics of saying, I'm a yoga therapist, and that you do what I say, and then you're going to get better. And I've had some students who are learning, and they come to me and they say, I told him to give up smoking, but he doesn't listen. Or like, it's like, okay. You need to work with that person. And if you are somebody who's never experienced yoga before, or even if you have experienced yoga and you have followed a guru and you go, oh my God, I followed a guru before in the past, there's always time to change and to evolve. Yoga therapy should be about collaboration between your yoga therapist and you. You cannot do without your yoga therapist, but let me tell you something, your yoga therapist cannot do anything without you.
Either.
So
Yes.
it's a symbiosis, it's a collaboration, the two of you working together and making sure that we don't put any yoga therapist on a pedestal. And I would like to advise that to yoga therapists, but in training, yoga teachers, say, listen to yourself. Is this good for you or not? Does it serve you or doesn't it serve you? And it doesn't matter that a yoga teacher or yoga therapist says whatever to you. If it doesn't serve you, then don't do it. And to make sure that we don't follow protocols. This is very important in yoga therapy. So a lot of the students ask me, okay, what's the protocol for working with somebody with multiple sclerosis? What exercises do you have to do? And I always say, it depends. This is the very famous phrase in yoga therapy.
Yeah,
it
depends.
Depends.
So many
on the
things.
person. So
yeah,
absolutely. So to make sure that we don't follow blindly, either whether we are a member of the public who's looking for yoga therapy treatment, or whether we're a yoga teacher training to become a yoga therapist. And I'm quite adamant about it. Also in the school, I remember once I got upset because some teachers said, oh, you know, somebody wanted to do a practice, and they said, oh, Montserrat doesn't like that. And I said, oh, please don't say that. What do you mean I don't like it? Okay, yeah. You know, I might not like you putting somebody upside down when they have heart disease, but yeah. Don't do it because of me. Do it because you're going to harm your client.
Yeah, understand why you're not doing it. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So I'm really cautious of this kind of like, following a person rather than learning from different people. And I think that that's what I really like. I'm learning from you, Shira. I learned from all kinds of people around me, and not to choose one person, because you're putting a lot of responsibility on that person, and to be perfect.
You're creating that power dynamic.
You're creating that power dynamic. So I think that that's really important. And I think that it's very important for us, especially for female yoga teachers. I hear it a lot. Yeah. To always looking for that figure that they follow.
It's projecting our golden self onto the other person because we haven't got the confidence in ourselves. And
possibly, I know. So that, you know,
I think so, definitely.
But if we have a history of trauma, then of course, I'm not asking anybody to have that self-confidence, but to doubt, to ask questions, to be inquisitive, curious, and critical thinking. To have critical thinking, for me, is the most important one. And I would advise anybody that if they study anything, whether it's yoga therapy or anything else, or you decide to have this critical thinking of saying, okay, why am I doing this? Why are you asking me to do this? You know, what is the purpose? Maybe I find that this is another way. So critical thinking is really important, and just not to follow somebody for the sake of it.
Yeah, and then I think yes, and I think if we go back to the word guru, gu and ru means light and darkness, and it's not just that the teacher is the light and you are the dark. We both have light and darkness.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think this, like you said, this symbiosis also reveals to the teacher their own darkness again, because they still have things to learn. Like you said, you're always learning from other people.
Absolutely. And as yoga teachers, we must never come across as perfect, because one of those problems is going to be that we're first of all lying because we're not perfect. And secondly, it puts so much pressure on ourselves.
We're going
to end up with burnout.
Yeah.
Because we are not performing. And I can't tell you how many yoga teachers come to me and they say, I'm injured, or I'm in pain, or I'm angry. And I shouldn't be because I'm a yoga teacher. And it's like, well, of course you can experience anger. I mean,
you're a human.
You're human. So, but I see that a huge conflict inside of wanting to be this guru, this teacher, this guidance with perfection.
I had that thing going on.
Of course.
I burnt out from it. Yeah.
You burn out from it. Of course, I'm trying to be this perfect human being.
That is impossible.
Absolutely. And we're giving the wrong image. And then we're teaching, and then we are encouraging our students to do what we do. To
set themselves up for failures. For failing.
Absolutely. Set up yourself for failure, because this is never going to be able to be achieved. So that is, I think, that one of the things that
needs to be said. Yeah, great.
Needs to be said. And when people say to me, and I always tell my students, I say, I hurt myself, or my shoulders hurt, my head is hurting, whatever, or whatever.
Be
and
real.
Go, all right. So, and I said, and sometimes I say, I'm sorry, I cannot demonstrate this because I'm or
I'm an old woman.
Absolutely. And I always say that, and I joke about it, and I joke about my menopause, and
I've been throwing my stories of perimenopause. No one talks about how terrible it is.
How terrible. Nobody tells you. Tells you. So yes, absolutely. And just to show that you're human, or that you're worried about your child, I said, I'm worried about my daughter, because, you worry. Yes, I do worry. Of course I worry. So yes, and that comes, Shira, particularly, and I really, really want to share this, because I had a student who came to me. She was very worried about her son, and she's been a yogi for a long time and practicing yoga for a long time. She said, I was worried about my son so much, and I tried to help her and support her through it. And then she said, I'm really disappointed with myself.
Oh.
She said, because all these years of practicing yoga and following yoga, and I'm a mess worried about my son. And she said, shouldn't yoga help me to find that equanimity balance, and that moment of peace and balance? And I said to her, let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. I said, those books of yoga that you're talking about were never written by a mother of 4 kids. Said, they were written by a man in a cave, or in a mountain,
had no responsibilities,
or in a temple, who had no didn't have to drive the kids to school,
didn't live in this busy world,
in an office. Correct. Okay, so you're following an ideal that's
impossible
now. It's impossible. And I think that is so important, that we understand that, and that we're not trying to follow these ideals. Context.
And
absolutely.
Relationship.
So I think that's the most important, because when people talk to me about the yoga of 1,000 years, or the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, I say, well, who was Patanjali? I don't know. I imagine
we don't even know who it was.
We don't even know who he was. Exactly.
Maybe he was 5 people.
Maybe he was 5 people. And he did say some wise things, but so did my grandmother.
Yeah, so did I. So did my dog.
Exactly. So, so anyway, so we just have to really contextualize it and realize that it is something to do with common sense, and that we have to apply it to today, and not to just follow some
blindly
texts or blindly. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's important. So yeah.
Thank you. That's a beautiful, beautiful way to end the podcast.
Good. Yeah. I hope that is useful, and that allows somebody, even if it's one person only, to say, you know what, this makes sense. Maybe I want to think about things in a different way. Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Is there anything else you want to plug in? Your work, your school, your institute?
No, nothing else. The school is just another tool for, facilitator. It's a wonderful community. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't fun. Everybody who knows me, they know I like to have fun with life. I don't like, it's not about performing, it's about living life. If I feel I'm living life, then I'm okay. And it's lots of fun. And I hope that it is also for the students, although it's a lot of hard work. I feel sorry for them.
They like it.
With all the exams and all the tests and all the work that they have to do. But yeah, it's another school that facilitates yoga therapy. I hope in an ethical way, inclusive, diverse, as much as we can. We're working on that. This is very important for us. So yes, that's something that that we all need to work on. And like I said to you, that yes, we feel very happy with it, and thanks to the courses online, it's become more accessible to also students from the African continent and the Far East, from Asia, etc. So, and even Australia. So we're really happy that we can bring all these people together.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So wonderful.
Thank you, Shira.
Thank you, Montserrat. It's been really lovely getting to talk to you again.
Oh, so nice, Shira. Really nice. And I hope that we can, continue collaborating and bringing ideas together.
Yes, I would love that. We'll say goodbye to our listeners. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for staying to the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I really love doing these talks with these amazing people. And if you want to know more, just take a look in the show notes. There's plenty of links and ways to connect with either the guest or myself. If you want to work with us or find out more about us, just check out the information in the show notes. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend or week, and you'll be hearing from me next week. Bye.